Hello Shapers, welcome to the 13th episode of Coffee with Curators. Today, we are delighted to have a guest from Southeast Asian country of Malaysia. Our today's guest curator had attended the World Economic Forum's annual summit as a Davos 50 Shaper in 2023. He has been working in project management, training, and community development for several years. Currently, he is working on Web3 and he has been involved in multiple projects, namely Pion Finance, the first Laser-DAO in DeFi, the Web3 media aiming to empower the creative industry in Web3. It's my pleasure to welcome the curator of Kuala Lumpur Hub from Malaysia, Irsyad Nazri. Welcome, Irsyad, to the Coffee with Curators.
Hey. Hi, thanks for having me, Gajanan. Really appreciate this.
So I will like to start with your journey. Please share your journey from joining as a global shaper to the attending the World Economic Forum's Davos Summit as a Davos 50 shaper.
Yeah, so I actually joined as a shaper way back in 2016. And yeah, I mean, for the last almost 7 years as a shaper, we're quite involved mainly in the hub. Had multiple projects then during the pandemic, the COVID era, like for since 2020 till early 2022, it was just crazy, right? So yeah, I mean, I applied for the curatorship role, got elected, went to the ACM, and during the ACM itself, I think had that push of applying for Davos, right? And apparently this is actually my third time applying for the annual meeting, and without any much expectation, I was like, just send it, like, then in November I got the news. So that was it was yeah it was I was in also after shock, but I think the experience, I think the beauty of global shapers in general has always been to serve the community, not just your local community, but also your regional, your solving real world issues at a local level. And I think that is the beauty of it. So yeah, that's a brief intro of my time as a shaper.
So Kuala Lumpur Hub is like one of the major hub in Southeast Asia. So could you share in short about the projects and initiatives of Kuala Lumpur Hub?
Yeah, so I mean, Kuala Lumpur Hub were established way back in 2012. So we celebrate our 10 years anniversary last year. Had multiple projects across those years. But I think one of the major themes was education, mental health, climate. So those are the three main things. But currently, in for our hub, at least, we have this project called Reimagine, which is basically a project that focuses on design thinking workshop to refugee students in Malaysia, and is basically spearheaded with the newer shapers. So we are really excited of how that is going to progress. But otherwise, yeah, that's in a nutshell, basically. Yeah.
So for hub projects, a lot of the main thing is project funding, but there is a big problem in many countries because they have a problem with bank accounts, fund transfer from one country to other country because of government regulations and other problems. So as an expert of Web3 and other like NFTs and all the future of this all these things, how this problem of cross-border payment we can solve using the Web3 and NFTs. Can you share something about it?
Yeah. So, funny thing is, when I went to Davos, one of the session that I went in, the official meeting, talks about, the importance of digital assets. And one of the things that was raised is about, cross-border payment system, where as it is, just for added context, as it is, the current system is very inefficient, right? Like if you want to send money from Malaysia to India, you have to go to Western Union, and the fee is abysmal. Like if you know the bigger the amount, the less fee you pay. But if it's like a small amount, the proportional the fee is freaking expensive, right? So it's very inefficient in that way. One thing that is unique that was also shared was that the ability to make cross-border payment much more efficient with the use of blockchain, because blockchain in general is very decentralized, especially public blockchain is very decentralized. There is no central entity in that sense, and it's like a peer-to-peer concept where if I want to send an asset to you, I could just you just send me a wallet address, I can just straight away pass to you, and from there you will off ramp using the available tools in your country. So that ability to to actually transact without borders, I think that would actually help, especially with the community, with especially global shapers, right? So the ability for you to raise funds, where sometimes it might be difficult for through nation to nations, standing order, whatever it is, but using the blockchain in a way that helps fund your projects, your hub, or whatever it is, it does unlock a huge potential and a huge growth on that side of it.
There is a traditional way of solving social issues. We are doing it for many years, but we know future needs new solutions. So what, how the like Web3 blockchain and all these new technologies can help us to solve the social issues in front of us today?
Yeah, I mean, I think one of the unique things for blockchain Web3 in solving social issues is the ability to amplify it globally, because it's not just a particular region or a particular country or hub. So so for example, there is a few projects in the blockchain that tackles climate change, that tackles mental health. There's even this a project called Eco Sapiens, which apparently actually got some sort of funding with the World Economic Forum, where you put the element of climate, but also you mix with game theory, social engineering to it. So they do have this so-called pay to earn, where in a way that you buy an NFT to be part of the community, and that NFT is dynamic. So if you want to evolve your NFT, for example, you have to pay a certain fee, and that fee itself goes back in terms of helping out climate change projects. So in a way, you are gamifying social impact in a sense where on one hand, people in Web3 are like, especially those who love NFTs, like things that are ever changing. So by giving back, like, oh, if I want to evolve this particular NFT, I have to pay, say, 100 USD worth of token X, and with that 100 USD is so-called equivalent to 2 metric tons of carbon credit. So that's one potential one current use cases of this project. But there's also other ways that you think you can apply blockchain. So for me, I think the key is, while on the city level, the hub level, in terms of individual hub, is there is potential use cases in the future where you have more adoption coming in. But I think at this point of time, the ability to amplify your cause, your impact, is much more bigger, because when you are in the Web3 space, you are actually going global. So yeah.
So as a youth, mid-age people, and all these are like working in traditional industry. They don't, the people who don't have any idea about the future of like web and what is the future of like different ecosystem through this Web3 system and NFTs and all the things. So can you share something about the future of Web3 and what is the future of like decentralization as per your experience and your like experience with Davos also and forum?
Yeah, I think we spoke earlier on offline where I can go for hours and hours for this, right? So I do think that like what we are experiencing right now for Web3 is like how the early 90s, just before the internet boom, like the put the in terms of the culture, in terms of what potential application on the space or by using this technology, right? Like you have blockchain is one potential. Then you also have an emerging tech, i.e. AI. That was also quite interesting as well. Like how do you leverage AI and in terms of that? But I think I think the key indicator when talk about decentralization and decentralized tech, you have to take a step backwards in a sense that why decentralization is quite proponent or like people want to be decentralized because I think in the end trust among centralized players could be government, could be big data, big entities, those trust has been eroded over time. The whole history of blockchain started off with this concept of cyberpunk, like not to say anarchists and stuff like that, but they it's a very counterculture kind of things. So the fact that it's starting to get mainstream shows that there is the number one, it shows the potential, the proof of concept actually works. Like people want to have decentralized finance, decentralized governance and stuff like that. In the context of what the future may hold, it's for me at least like I do see it more of the introduction of personal computers in the 80s. Like that is how huge is going to be for decentralized for blockchain, Web3, or those kind of technology. Metaverse is another. And I think it does tackle. I mean, one beauty of it of decentralization is actually cross functional in a sense that you can any form of verticals like finance, social impact, governance, culture, music, entertainment industry, so transcends all of that. Like you can actually, it is basically just an infrastructure, a tool that you can build on top of it. And I think that is the beauty of decentralized blockchain, Web3 in general. Like I could go on in terms of how decentralized finance actually help more people to be more aware of financial literacy, because I think we all can safely say that all of us did not learn about financial literacy in school. The ability for you to accelerate that learning through being in the space, I think that while it has risk, that's definitely because they're still having trouble, those people in terms of the regulation part of it. But I think how it actually help is you accelerate people knowledge about how their personal finances and so forth. That is just finance, right? Then you talk about entertainment culture, where the ability for you to own rights of an IP rather than you just buy it. Like that's also a game changer. You are giving ownership back to the people, back to individuals rather than a centralized entity. And I think another potential application or future use would be governance. The ability of using public blockchain as a form of governance, I think that's key. Maybe it would be, I mean, in terms of the mechanism of it is still being trying to innovate and trying to fit with the current status quo. But imagine the transparency, imagine how social engineering, game theory in general, would actually inform the communities, the societies, in take elected individuals more accountability and stuff like that. So yeah, that's yeah, I could go on forever, but yeah, that's in a nutshell how I see the future of decentralization Web3.
So, as a global shaper, we mostly work in like social issues and social cause. So, can you share some like if shapers want to like introduce Web3 and like decentralization and all this new stuff in the project implementation and in project working? Is there any resources or how can they learn about it to like involve all these things in while implementing the projects?
I mean, I think at this point of time, in terms of learning about Web3, that there is a lot of tools out there, or a lot of videos and stuff like that. I think one of it is I did share with you earlier on. It's called Whiteboard Crypto, whereby it's a very educational channel in YouTube where they take high concept blockchain technology and make it and dumb down, I mean, giving real life analogies to explain it. So that's what, while it's more generic, that would actually help educate people on this on the space. Side note, I'm not attached with them at any way, but I'm just saying that that's one of the key resources I would share for those people who want to know about the space. Number two, in terms of social impact projects, like if you want to create your own project, honestly, I think like while it's nice to have, you also need to question whether is it needed, because I think because the space itself is still quite new, still quite nascent, a lot of it, I would say, is that there is no connection to it. But what I mean is like only leverage Web3 in your projects if you see the potential in it. Because as it is, I would say this, like if you want, we are still way early in the space. Probably in the next 3-5 years, where you have a lot more use cases of projects in that in leveraging Web3, then I would say that as of now is more of, if you want to amplify your message, if you want to make it, a regional or even global movement of it, then yes, you leveraging blockchain tech could be one of it. In terms, but also what we shared earlier on in terms of cross finance payment system, like, if your particular project needs to raise funds or want cross border payment system, take a look at the blockchain projects and stuff like that. So again, it is based on case by case basis, but I do feel that if you explore the space at this point of time, you will be early in it, and that has a huge upside in 5-10 years time.
So you are working in industry for several years, but after joining GSC, how GSC contributed to your like development of leadership skills and your personality development and all the leadership like things?
Yeah, when I joined Global Shapers in 2016, I would say I was more closed up. I was very, I would say I was shy. I'm introverted in nature, but I tend to doubt myself more often than not. And I think one of the major things that I feel how the Global Shaper community helped me, not just in terms of leadership, but I think in terms of personal growth, having that constant group of community members, like that was the one constant that I have throughout the 7 years, and the ability, I mean, I think if you guys have been to Shape event, you would know that regardless of your background, regardless of your your status, your situation, like you always find a commonality on that. And I think having that comradeship throughout my last 6 7 years has helped grow me as a person, but also, in terms of seeing the world, in terms of how you should lead, in terms of leadership, how you should lead with service. Yeah, I mean, that's I don't know. I mean, I'll be forever in debt with the global shaper community. That's how my sentiment of it, because of how I've grown so much for the last 7 years.
So as you mentioned, you are working in community for more than like 6 years. You attended annual curators meeting, World Economic Forum's like annual meeting at Davos. So can you share some memorable moments of all this your journey, like which impacted your life deeply while working?
The concept of serendipity, like, like for example, in ACM, right? Like there was 500 of us in that, right? It was so overwhelming. Post pandemic, it was, yeah, I was quite overwhelmed for the first day, I think, in the UN house, in that sense. But I think that while everybody there are leaders in their own respect, in their own fields, in their own hubs, but having that one-to-one communication with, strangers in that sense, right? But like having meaningful conversation that is not forced. I think that is the concept of serendipity, right? And that just amplifies in any forum events, not just the annual meeting in Davos, like any opportunities that allows you to go to forum events, like, like the summer Davos in China. I think it was it the can't remember the name of it. Regional meetings, those opportunities. I think that's something that you guys should apply, because in the end, right, like for example, my experience in Davos was that while someone while had coming to an official session, someone sitting beside you could be a CEO of Fortune 500. On your left is somebody who is apparently a minister of this country. It's just mind blown, right? But in the end, is that outside of it, like we look them on a pedestal and stuff like that. But over there, everybody is equal. Everybody is the same. We are all human. And having that opportunity of conversation with those kind of people, like random people, not just with them, right? Like taking the van back to the hotel, having a genuine conversation with the driver, that is also quite meaningful, because whatever happens in the regional meetings, Davos and stuff like that, it affects not just those people who attend, but those people who actually help make that event a success. So, I think if I want to summarize that experience, I think the concept of serendipity has opened not just my eyes but my heart to a lot of possibilities.
So you are working for many years in community, and there are a lot of shapers come to the community. A lot of them become alumni after serving community for 5 to 6 years. So can you give some like advice or suggestions to the new shapers, like how they can utilize this opportunity of like the other shapers of the one of the largest community in the world, who is working to create positive impact in the community, so that they can focus on the where should they focus mainly as working as a shaper?
Wow, that's a very good question. And it's quite subjective, in a sense that it depends on person to person. But I would say, when you join the community, know that it's not about self. It's not about me, right? It's about us. It's about we. It's about how do we help impact the community around us. You know, is the sense of servitude, selflessness, in giving back. Because I think everybody who joined us as a shaper, what you call that, is in volunteering, and the time that we commit is basically just based on our passion. So I think advices for new shapers is that, yeah, I mean, if there is a project or if there is any issues that you are very passionate about in solving, push for it. If you feel shy or still looking at what you want to do in life, what kind of impact, have that serendipity moment with your hub members. And and also, I think the key thing is, if you see opportunities to go for projects, cross hub initiative projects to be involved in, go for it. If you have, look for opportunities to go for regional meetings, annual meetings in Davos, go apply for it. If you have the ability to go to Shape event, so I think that there is a Shape South Asia there, right? If 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 you get the opportunity to go for it, because while Global Shapers community is basically what we say is an initiative by the World Economic Forum, we are one of the arms that actually create tangible, measurable impact to the community. While that is important, I think balancing up with that moment of personal growth, moment of having meaningful conversation, I think that would just grow you, not just as a person, not just in terms of your career growth, but I think mainly, for me at least, also personal growth. So yeah.
So is there any like is forum is providing some like resources for projects who want to work on like projects on Web3 and decentralization, all the things?
Not that I'm aware of, but I know for a fact that the World Economic Forum currently is heavily invested in building this global collaboration village. While it's not Web3 in its core, they are using parts of the technology, i.e., the metaverse. Having a virtual space for you to interact, like creating that Davos experience in the metaverse. So I think the global collaboration village is I will be it will be interesting to see how that thing grows, because if that were to be a success, imagine like you have the physical meet in Davos, but anybody in the world, every shapers can join the conversation in a virtual space of it. So yeah, I'm quite excited to see how that progress.
Yeah. So thank you so much, Irshad, for joining us today and sharing your insights and experience with Shapers. It was a pleasure having you on the show, and thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Garjana. I really appreciate it. And you guys should keep it up, doing more of this for the foreseeable future. So yeah, thank you so much.